number 7.
Maybe I'm missing a page.
No, it's down there.
It is numbered 6, 7, and 8.
Oh, the papers are probably out of order on the podium. Sorry,
I apologize.
Oh, no, I'm glad to be heard. Karen Olson, Gulfport resident, wanted to address some concerns regarding City Hall and the council. Want to reiterate my concern about the audits and the process that brought us to 5 years waiting for audits. Also wanted to again ask that the city consider bringing in somebody from the outside to evaluate communication between the city manager and outside agencies and the staff within City Hall and the city council, including how email accounts are handled and who gets to see what communication.
Thank you. And then we have AJ.
Take my time for the second public comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Then we are through the public comment section of our agenda. Next is discussion action items. It looks like the first topic of concern is city minute styles and formatting. Does anybody have any questions to our city recorder in regards to this?
I found the overview very thorough and informative.
Yeah, like the
So,
bullet points. I think it'll be easier to read too.
And so it looks like staff is asking for a motion directing staff to bring back a resolution at the August meeting, formally adopting the selected style, which I'm presuming that's what you are all talking about.
Yeah.
The action minutes or informational minutes. Or it looks like there's summary of minutes.
Yeah.
Summary minutes.
I would move that staff bring back a recommendation for the summary version of minutes at the August meeting.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously passed. Okay, moving on. It looks like we have Public Works Construction Standards updates. In June of 2024, the City Council adopted a new updated construction design standard manual for public works projects, with the city updating the previous very old standards guidebook. These provide considerable details about how public works projects and standards should be met, has a link to it, an update. And then it says, staff recommendation, it is not expected that a layperson will read or understand the detailed documents. As such, it is in the interest of time, the city is requesting the council direct the city staff to bring back a resolution allowing the city manager, planner, and public works supervisor, when in all agreement, to adopt these changes on an annual basis, both notifying the council and public when doing so. But not involving any of the public, it doesn't sound.
This is regarding the public works, is that correct, Dan? About their, like a handbook type of?
These are public work standards. So for example, it specifies the depth and specificity of the gravel that must be installed under a roadway when installing a roadway improvement. Or it specifies the height of a sign that Public Works then places on the side of the road to meet the MUTCD standards that are required by the federal government.
I don't see why, I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around why the public would want input on how thick the gravel is.
The developers will typically reference this document on a regular basis. The document is created by a team of engineers. The city has some input, but in general, we defer to engineers on this type of work. simply because it's based on Oregon and federal laws. And we, design and modify our design standards to comply with changing laws. The reflections of the standard this time, which is over 500 pages of edits of the manual, simply reflect a lot of language that incorporates recent legislative changes. And we expect that every year, but usually every 2 years, that this will be necessary.
And so why would the council not be involved?
It's a matter of expediency. We could print out a 500-page manual for you all. We've done that in the past with the transportation manuals. However, historically, that does not get a lot of traction or a lot of feedback or comment. What I've asked is that the professionals, specifically the planner and the public works director, are really the ones making the decision, and the city manager just ensuring that there's nothing that is going to cause financial conditions to the city outside of the norm.
Our planner is here. Have you read the 500 pages?
Yes.
Has anyone on council?
No.
Are we aware of any of the changes that were made in the last
Is
adoption?
it still going to be 500 pages, or is that now in the edited version?
This is an edit of the 500 pages. The manual is still roughly 500 pages.
It's awful to have to go from 5 pages to 500 pages, but I guess that's the way of the world these days. So very technical.
It says here that the update was provided to the city, but I have not yet seen this, so I don't feel comfortable voting on this until I'm able to see the document that you're asking me to vote on. Personally, I don't know about you guys. And I'd like to know what the updates are, especially if it involves our developers, our community, our HOAs. It seems like that's something that we should be aware of.
Well, we have the link there, so and we have got 30 days to look at it before we get the resolution back for it. So I guess if we came up with huge changes, we could deal with it at the next meeting.
I guess I'm confused.
Are there any local-only portions of that document? Or is it strictly federal and state standards being imposed on us?
I'm going to defer that question to our
I
city
mean,
planner.
how much of it is something we have control over even?
Well, we have control over the whole document as long as we don't violate any standards that have been set by federal highways, the Oregon DOT, the American Association of Public Works, the American Water Works Association, or any of the other manufacturers that build to those standards. These are all typically federally guided, mandated specifications on how things are to be built or constructed, the best engineering practice, that sort of thing. There's nothing in there that we specifically override anything on. There are some things in there that we change a little bit because of our preferences on some materials, or maybe on the way things are done on the coast versus how they're done in Denver or somewhere else. So we do make some minor changes for our stuff, but we don't deviate from the standard.
So why does it need to be expedited?
It's a new and updated version. It's not that it needs to be expedited, it's that it's a 500-page document, or excuse me, it's got a lot of edits, a lot of red lines, and the request is to accept those. And, you know, it's a matter of when the city council has the time to review that.
So you could just bring a report to council, a 5-page report, we could review it.
5-page report on what?
Well, I said that Susan Woodruff would rather have a 5-page report than a 500-page report.
The 500-page report replaces.
Replaces.
500-page standard replaces the 5-page standard that we've been operating under for quite a few decades.
So the changes, are they made in red? If we click on this link, is that gonna, will we see?
I will send you a direct link to the one that has all, it's a 100-megabyte document.
Okay.
I will send you a direct link to that so you can see that, and I will also post that online so you can see all the red line changes.
So if it's, as you say, it's mostly stuff that's already law from this, that, or the other organization or authority, could we just maybe see what changes were made that we have the authority over, which would probably not be many? Or would they?
That would be, there's absolutely no reason we could not do that, but it would be a considerable amount of engineering time on our engineer to
Yeah.
identify. I will tell you that the last iteration, the only major change that I am aware of is that we changed and called out a specific type of piping material used for sewer lines, because in our experience, the type that was specified did not hold up well in sand. And that, based on our public works experience, that we called out a similar material that was an option because it did better in sand.
Right.
The changes in the document, if I may, the changes in the document that are currently being suggested are suggested by our consulting engineer, by our professional engineer, who has reviewed everything and said, okay, this needs to be updated, that needs to be updated, et cetera. So that's where the changes came from. To be honest, if something says, you shall use 6-inch blah, blah, and that crossed out and now it says 7-inch, I couldn't really say why that change is there, but, the reason being, so we would have to ask them to provide us an explanation on everything and why the different edits have been made.
I can't really see why we wouldn't just take care of this.
So our job is to deal with policy.
Right.
Not details.
Right.
This would be like us learning how to repair a car and exactly what tolerances have to be and all those kinds of things. And that's not what our job is. That's the way I see it anyway.
And that's, for me too, even if you send us a 500 page,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna know what I'm reading. I don't know nothing about engineering depth and all that stuff, so it's gonna be just verbiage to me. So we rely on our professionals, like the engineers, to make sure this is done correctly.
Literally the reason that I brought this proposal forward is that this is just it's like adopting the new leave laws that Oregon passes every year. Those are just incorporated into our guidance from Oregon state law. Many of the reason this document exists is so that contractors, developers, and or any public works project like the sewer project you'll be looking at later has a design standard that they can reference easily without having to go to the different federal standards and interpret. We can provide them an easy link to the document that applies.
Given that, I would move that we direct city staff to bring back the resolution next month.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
I have a comment. I'm hearing what the mayor's saying because I've never seen this document either. But I'm gonna tell you, if I go in and look at 500 pages and knowing what my background is in explosives, I would know what that is. I have no idea why the gravel is 6 or 7 inches. So if the mandate is I'm supposed to look at it, I'll look at it. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna know what it says. I believe that the planner, the public works supervisor, they have more tools than I do. I'm not sure the city manager has that tool, but I know the other two do because that's what they're trained for.
I only
I just want to make
interject.
my comment and I did not speak up quick enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I only interject when specifically asked about a change that our public works or our planner want.
And can this be amended late? Let's say we have this in place and something happens, we don't like it, can we come back and amend it? Okay. Yeah.
It is much like state or federal law. You can always go stricter. You cannot generally go laxer.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I am a no. Thank you. All right, moving on. Next one, action item is about making amendments to Title 5 and 12 regarding special events and licensing, creating a new event form and process. Does anybody have anything to say about this?
And I take it this is just fixing some of the loopholes, Dan, is that correct?
I wouldn't use the word loophole. The
Or
attorney for
issues.
Beachcombers brought to our attention concerns in the lack of a definition, for example, of a nonprofit.
Okay.
And also some vagary in some of the requirements that is simple enough to just simply spell out the same requirement based on best practice. Those will be clearly identified to you. As always, when we make changes to any ordinance, I bring you the ordinance first so that you can read what exists currently in place. The next meeting, we will bring you a red line copy based on any feedback we receive from any of you and on the staff and attorney recommendations. At that time, you would then make any changes as you deem appropriate or tell me to throw it all out. And then at the third meeting, we would bring the final ordinance for approval and vote.
And the timetable for doing those steps?
So this is the first meeting where you have the copies of the two Title V and Title 12.
As they exist now.
As they exist now. The second piece would be, I would bring you the modifications at the August meeting. And then at the September meeting, after the modifications have been looked at by you and by the public, you would then take action, whether you choose to do, and I'll give you a prime example of, we went through this exact process on some sidewalk considerations. I don't remember the title right now, I think it was Title 10, that was recommended by CIS. We brought the changes and the council decided to take no action at that time. So you have full authority to do what, this is your law, your code. You have full authority to modify it however you see fit.
I personally am concerned with the lack of community involvement in our event process. And I know you look confused, Jerry. However, this has been the most division I've ever seen in our communities over events. So as mayor, I'm proposing that we start a committee, perhaps an event committee of 2 councilors, 2 city citizens, 2 county citizens, and 1 youth to work on this event program, this event process, and give feedback to council of what it is like for an actual event organizer to go through this process. I think that we would be misinformed to do this without the information of the public.
Well, the Beachcomber event that we're talking about has been going on for many years without an awful lot of trouble.
I disagree. And there was problems in 2021 when I was on council.
I have a question just to make sure I understood. These codes is Walport Municipal Code, correct?
Yes.
And when I went looking to see when this was established, it was February of 2000.
That's probably the
That's a
last time it
date
was
that-
modified, yes.
So in 25 years, this has not been a discussion, well, at least for 5 years I know, I've never talked about this. So this has been in place for 25 years.
Yes.
So you don't believe that community should be able to be involved in this process?
I didn't say anything about community. I wanted to know when this was established.
Well, I just think that it's interesting that everyone keeps coming back to like, this was the only time we've had this problem. I also think it's interesting that we only have 1 event from Beachcombers, 1 event from our chamber, and why we don't have more events happening in our city. And especially with the change of insurance, I think we're gonna see less and less events. So this is concerning to me.
Well, I think the code changes that we're trying to fix, given the attorney's input, certainly.
The city's attorney, right?
No.
Which attorney?
Beachcomber's attorney.
Yeah, the Beachcomber's attorney is the one that,
Oh, the one that got fired for talking to Dan Cutter?
No,
The last one?
Monica.
I guess I'm not aware. I'm not aware what attorney we're talking about.
Monica Kirk, I believe. Is
No.
that correct?
No.
Okay, who is
No,
it?
they hired, the Beachcombers hired an attorney, which wrote some letters right before the Beachcombers event
Right.
that were sent to all of you, including the mayor,
Yeah.
that specified concerns that they had with the code based on some of the requests for third-party indemnification
Right.
and that the right of the city to regulate a nonprofit because we did not define nonprofit in our business license code. I did not disagree with many of the comments that attorney made. And in consultation with our attorney, we felt that the solution to it was to simply correct the deficiencies that they noted.
I think that's a fantastic idea, and I think that a committee of citizens could make that happen with full transparency and involvement in their city. So I think that I don't understand why, if we're having such a hard time with this process, why we don't take a pause of adding maybe 2 more months to have the input of citizens looking over these suggestions and seeing what event organizers' feedback is for the city.
I mean, have we had a lot of issues with these permit applications? I'm not aware of the past, having a lot of people have issues with them, except for this last year mainly.
Only one group and only a couple people.
Yes.
I'm sure it's only one person's fault.
Well, no, we're just saying we've never had
Yeah.
anything come up at all.
Well, in 2021, I was on city council, and I remember the Moose applying at the same time as Beachcombers to have the same event on the same weekend.
I believe that
The
was
one person who was involved in that.
Yeah,
Right.
It was
I
the same
remember.
board. It was the
and it
same
wasn't that
board.
about the same street. That was about them wanting to close the street and
It was the same person.
So what are the allegations against this one person? I'm sorry, I'm confused as what's happening here. Can someone please
Well,
explain to me?
basically, no one's had trouble, and none of the other events have had trouble, except the one person who continually says, she doesn't understand it, can't do it.
So
In
I,
spite of all the years.
I'm sorry, Councilor Woodruff. I spoke to a board of an organization who said that they all are having a major issue with our city manager. And I remember seeing at least 11 complaints over this issue. And all of them were dismissed without merit. And I'm being told right now, the whole problem is one person.
Basically, yeah.
yeah, and we've never had an issue. I mean, and the complaints, didn't you request those on a news conference? I think you asked people, I remember watching a news conference where they interviewed you and you told people to send in complaints.
It is actually, for the record, if any people have any complaint against the city manager, they mail it directly to the mayor at City Hall. That is what it states of how a complaint is dealt with the city manager, Greg. So yes, I do that. And I will do it again. If anyone has any complaint against the city manager, I invite you to write to the mayor at City Hall about it.
It also.
I would have addressed the other complaints if I wasn't illegally dismissed, for the record.
It would be good if someone has a complaint about the city manager, hopefully they would go and sit down and talk to the city manager.
That's not what it says to do in the book.
That's just common sense, and
I'm sorry. We have a charter,
I understand we have. a
and in the
charter.
charter, it reads how to deal with a complaint with the city manager, and nowhere in here does it say sit down and have coffee with a counselor and talk it over.
Before it gets to a complaint, I think what you're saying is,
That's right.
before it gets that, sit down and discuss the issue with the city manager.
Okay.
Then, if it doesn't get resolved, that's when you want to file a complaint.
Okay, so I was sworn in January. As of when I was sworn in, there were no problems with Beachcombers. In the
That-
meetings of December, it literally reads, the council voted to let Beachcombers continue to do their events on city property.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And if you would have got
So
a hold
what-
of us, we have a stack of paperwork, and you've never once wanted to sit down and look at that whole
I've
stack.
asked for it actually several times. I've asked for this stuff.
I
And it has never been provided to me by
I didn't
you
know
or the
emails
city
that
manager.
you wanted to sit down with the council. What email? If you could show us what email, because I never got one. Do you guys ever get an email?
Can I put it on the record that I'm
I've never got an
asking for all
or
paperwork?
text, other than one, in 7 months.
Yeah. I've never got a single email saying, hey, can we sit down and talk about Beachcombers when all this is going on?
And that was the proposition.
We thought you were gonna do
that. If the problem about the events in this city is only to do with one organization and only one person from that organization, can you name that person so they can maybe resign so we can continue to work with this organization?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the council have anything else to discuss on this matter?
No, I don't.
Does anybody have a motion? All right, I'm going to ask one more time that the council direct the staff to create a committee, an event committee of 2 citizens within city limits, 2 citizens that are organizational event people, and 2 counselors and 1 youth from our community to work together on this event process and give council feedback as to what would be beneficial.
So why would we do that if only one person has a problem with it?
Because I don't think that's true, Counselor Woodruff.
It is true.
I don't think that, well, who's the person?
We all know who the person is.
I really do not know who you're talking about.
Well,
I really don't. I have
Everybody
heard the city staff complain about several people, including
We want our
myself.
voice heard.
That's how you get community input, is by having committees like that.
Why don't you want to listen to it?
I will ask one more time for a motion from my council.
I think it's a waste of time to have a committee to write up an event permit application.
That's not what I asked. I asked for a committee to do a review of the process and give information back to the council that could be beneficial. Of what could be helpful, what it was challenging, where they had questions. I do not understand why this is divided between the staff and one person from one organization.
Madam Mayor, if I might. The authority of the mayor under the city charter and its council rules does allow the mayor to create a committee without council response. There is nothing I know people are surprised right now, but there's nothing that stops the mayor from creating and convening such a committee and holding those meetings and gathering that feedback. That doesn't mean that the council has to, like anything else, accept or deny that feedback. But that is absolutely a right and responsibility. It is pretty much the only right and responsibility that is assigned to the mayor unilaterally.
Thank you.
So with that information, I'm going to move forward and direct the city staff.
No, we don't have a motion.
We're not making a motion. I'm saying that I'm asking to direct the city staff as mayor to create a committee that is within my charter rights of 2 city citizens, 2 event organizers within the county, 2 city councilors, and 1 youth. And I want those 7 people to be able to meet and advise the council of what they find challenging, they have questions, or how they advise the council to proceed with this permit process. Thank you, city manager. And with that, we will move on to J&J residential contract issues. I'm afraid that this also leaves me with many questions, but I would like you all to start with yours first.
So how many yards are left to be poured?
We have the replacement of the half pavilion and the basketball court that is left. Quick calculations, we have about $60,000 of concrete that needs to be poured.
That's the cost of the material.
That is the cost of the material from Knife River based on the last invoice we got from Knife River.
And no labor has been paid.
No, right, there was not supposed to be any labor, right?
In the contract, it is specified that the labor was a donation from J&J.
Okay,
And we've paid for materials from J&J and materials from different vendors who J&J has contracted to do the work.
did you consult with Bully Laws before you made
Yes.
that contract?
Yes.
And it is appropriate for employers to demand their employees volunteer their trade
They
to
don't
a
have
government
employees.
contract?
That is between the employer and who's doing the work. Our understanding was that it was being donated by J&J.
My understanding is that a company cannot donate their employees' labor.
Heidi, it says there are no employees. I think they're both partial of the company, a man and his son.
Son, yeah.
He said there's no employees, but I read.
There's no employees, so there's nobody to get paid, other than the owners of the company.
So the 60,000, that includes the other material that you talked about, rebar and setup and all that? Okay.
In the last conversation I had with Mr. Larson, he indicated that if we could get the material donated, which is what I am trying to do from Knife River or from Ready Mix, that they felt that they might be able to perform the contract. I have not received a response back from Knife River or from Ready Mix.
So you're trying to find a way.
I am trying to find a way for the contract to be performed.
And from what I heard, they're filing bankruptcy, is that what?
I can't speculate on rumors.
That's-
that we've
yeah.
heard.
Can someone please point to me in this contract where it states that there's no employees working on this project?
I just read it.
And that the only employees are the owners of the business?
I believe even on the state's website. They don't carry workers' comp.
It says the contractor will supply all labor. That's me and my son. And yes, I had my workers at times working on the city park to try to accomplish the goal that was in hand, which is a little over excessive for what my bid is. I mean, basically the bid I gave was for concrete and rebar. And that's it. And I had to pay out of pocket for things for the city park and for labor for my guys to work. Because if you're asking me and my son to do a job that's a lot, me and him would have to work 24/7 for the 143 days straight to accomplish his goal, and it would not happen with two guys. It would take a man, in order to pour like a basketball court, which is 128 yards of concrete, I can't do it by myself unless I pour a 10-yard pad at a time. And I would have to pour 27 pads, or however. So I can't do all the work. I can't expect people in the community to work for free. I can't get concrete, let guys that do the finish work there for free, to ask them to come from the community you're around here and come to work for the city park for nothing.
No, it's illegal, I believe it's illegal. I'm sorry, are you John Larson?
I am Jay Larson.
Jay Larson, nice to meet you. I'm Mary Lambert. Thank you for coming today. Okay, so thank you for coming, because that helps me with my questions. I would try to read this contract and I don't see on here anything about employers. So if you're saying that you did employ people to do this job, where does it say that you're volunteering yourself and your services for this?
On page 5 says on the contract that I'm donating all my labor.
Your personal labor?
Yes.
It is my understanding that you cannot volunteer your employees' labor.
By law, probably not allowed to. So,
Page 8 says the contractor has no employees.
well, I do have employees. I have a business, so I do have employees that do my normal construction jobs every day for me. I have one sitting next to me. I
Okay,
had to lay off people because I couldn't afford to keep paying them, working at a city park, and I didn't have enough work to keep some guys going, so I'm down to basically one employee on the books and a couple more that I have subcontracted out to do work for my own personal construction business. But for the city park, I still had to bring on guys to help do the job because it's 2 people. It is a ton of work for 2 people to do all of that.
no, I've driven by and I've seen teams of probably 10 out
Roughly,
there.
the concrete calculations would have been 323 yards of concrete for all the pads to pour.
Okay, so I'm confused and please thank you for your patience. So you're saying that you bid on this job, you underbid it, not understanding the scope of work?
I was handed this piece of paper, and this is my set of plans to figure out the city park. I gave them a bid to set up concrete costs for concrete forms and tie rebar and pour concrete.
Okay,
So that is what I had to go work off of. And 90% of my work, or 75% of the work, was grading gravel to get set up
to pour the concrete pads to an elevation that it wasn't in the mud, it wouldn't flood, and there would be enough slope for water drainage to get out of there, is what I calculated on my own time for the city park. So
Okay,
the $143,000 bid was for the rebar and concrete.
okay,
Pour all of that and set it up, and probably some rock. So rock was supposedly donated by somebody else. And I thought at the time of this, when I was asked about it, it was to be volunteer help from the community. So I thought more people in the community would be volunteering to help do parts of the project when I gave them the bid. If I'd known I had to haul in or grade thousands of yards of rock to the specification or height of my decision at the city park to what the elevation should be, so it'd be adequate, and level. It was thousands of yards of rock that I spent days moving. I paid guys, had my own personal equipment down there that I didn't get paid for my own personal equipment, and trucks, and my own employees for my contractor business that I I had them down there helping me to accomplish this. And I did a lot of it last summer in the first few months. And we try to get as much done as we can, but to an extent, when I am losing money hand over fist, I had to tell my guys to stop working. I can't keep going doing this in order to get the city park done. I shouldn't have to pay out of my own personal pocket to do a city park. I could see if I was gonna be building a city park that we were gonna turn around and have people pay us money back to go play in it, then I might have donated some more money so in return I could make money on the backside. Other than that, I can't keep doing this on my own time and dime. And I have to, the concrete, there's 35 yards and a half circle that didn't get, I paid other guys to help me pour it. The wind and weather affected it, it failed, I have to tear it out. That's roughly $15,000 in concrete, and I have another 20 by 30 pad. The same thing happened, it dried up so fast, it cracked. City manager said it failed, I have to tear it out, so I have roughly about 23 yards of concrete I have to pay and replace and put on the ground. So that's, $20-some thousand out of my pocket, plus the pump, plus the man hours, and that to finish that piece just on my own, to get it back to where it was before I poured the concrete.
Mr. Larson, when did you stop work at the park? You said you did this work mostly in the summer.
We worked till August, I don't know, it's been so busy.
August, September?
Yeah, sometime in the fall, late summer, fall time.
And was the city manager made aware that you didn't have the funding for the cement, or that you didn't have?
I've talked with them about that, I told them I can't keep doing it, I can't,
Was there ever discussion about changing the contract? I know that you can sometimes do like when you add something to the contract, change order.
No, I did not. So, no, we did not discuss that.
If there was a solution, what would the best solution be that you could propose?
They'd have to just pay the wages, I'm sorry, I'd have to come up with the money to pay for the concrete and pay for the help. Because I can go pour it myself, but it'll be a few years before I get it done, because I'm only one person, and I'm not a concrete finisher. My skill is at is framing. So I have concrete guys that do the concrete work for me, and I help put it on the ground. So I can't, the city should come up with the money, or actually have a legitimate plan in effect. So as a contractor, you could go and look at it and go, okay, this is gonna be X amount of rock, X amount of this, and give an actual bid to do the job as it would have been for like you to hire me to do a concrete slab of your house. So that's the way that it should have been proposed. not try to ask for community help to do it for basically nothing. Because $143,000 for all the work that's over there is a lot. That is dirt cheap. And in my contract, it also have to, after pouring the slab, do all the backfill and grading, it says in my contract. And I was supposed to move and set all the rock for the playground set too, in my contract, which I had nothing to do with the playground set. Which, that's where most of all the money that was ever brought in is sitting in that square box underneath the playground. And that piece, that's where all the money is at in the city park. The rest of it, I was supposed to, and in my contract, if it fails, I have to finish paying whatever it is to finish the park out.
Seems
Out of
like
my
a
pocket.
steep learning curve for being kind to your community.
Yeah, it is. It's a bad thing when you live here, you try to help out the city and that, so the learning lesson will never happen again.
Especially when, didn't you also say at City Hall though that you did that without setting foot in the field?
I walked over there and looked around at it.
Yeah, you didn't, you
Okay,
told us
thank you,
at City Hall.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Uh-huh.
All right, so the staff recommendation action requested, it says that the city can go after the contractor's bond and take them to court, seek donations of concrete from suppliers and see if they can complete it with the donated supplies, seek other contractors to do the work, and purchase the concrete, or a combination of above. Since we have the luxury of Mr. Larson being in the audience, does council have any questions for him?
Well, I certainly want to express my thankfulness that you were willing to offer to, as you did. I mean, that was great, and I know that we were excited and you were excited as well to be a part of that. It looks to me like the scope of work clearly talks about the fill and all, and the leveling and all of that, but maybe you didn't have that statement of work before the contract was signed. That I don't know.
It was brought up to me at a meeting with Dan is that we were supposed to lay 6 inches of 3-inch rock and then compact that and put 3 or 6 inches of 1 inch minus on top of that.
Right.
And to pour the pad.
Right.
I could have done that, but when you put a foot of rock on a marsh in early spring, or you run a heavy compactor over it, it goes about that thin.
Exactly.
So I should have gave a change order to do all the rock, but that was not the part, because Jimmy Smith was supposed to be bringing in and hauling the rock, which in turn I thought he might help do some of the grading. But I have way more, I have like 4 or 5 man hours for 1 hour of setting up and pouring concrete. So the scope of work was, yes, over more than what I was at. The bid I put in for the pads, I was told just to do what I would recommend. I gave them the bid for 2-foot rebar, and turning after the contract we got, it said 4-inch rebar grid. That means every 4 inches, there's a piece of rebar across it.
Right.
So that's like 6,000 sticks of rebar I'd have to put in at a 4-inch grid. After we talked about it with Dan, he decided to go 6-inch. I set up one of the concrete pads, the pickleball courts in 6-inch, which is almost 460 yard or 60 sticks of rebar. He'd come back with an email later going, let's do 1 foot. So that's still 200 and some sticks of rebar in one of the pickleball courts, plus the basketball court and the other ones. The half round is all 12-inch grid, which is overkill to play basketball on. I mean, I don't know where the engineering came up for that. I guess the city has an engineer. It should have been engineered and maybe a survey done for a set of plans that you could know what you had to do. Because if I had elevations and placement, I could have went out with a laser and gone, okay, it needs to be 4 feet thick here. In rock, I could have gave a better bid to move all of that rock.
But the project wasn't engineered.
No, like I said, this was the one set of plans that I got from Dan Cutter to start my bid. So this is my plans to do a city project.
That you thought was gonna be led by volunteers.
And yes,
And that you were
and
gonna,
have help doing extra parts of all of this for the city.
okay,
And
if
so, I mean,
we,
this is not an engineered set. This is an aerial photo that we drew some lines on and then give me some dimensions. And there's no stating what the thickness of the rebar is supposed to be, or the thickness of the concrete, how many sticks of rebar per foot, or anything like that. So it's hard to give a bid. I went by what I thought was recommended would be a 2-foot grid for concrete, for asphalt board, and all the other stuff, so.
but then when you signed the contract, it was a different.
It said 4 inches. And then we argued about that and we determined 6. And then, like I said, after we set up one of the pads at 6, it went to 12. Because they went, oh shit, that's a lot of rebar.
Right. Okay, so I guess my question is, are you interested on continuing to work on this project? I mean, it seems that you would be if you're here, or why are you just here to inform us of this?
No, I would like to try to finish the park. I started it. I'd like to try to, but I can't do it out of my own pocket. I can't do it just solely me and my son on this. Because if we did, it'll be a few years before the rest of that gets done.
Well, I imagine you have a day job and you have work to do.
I have bills to pay.
Yeah.
You know, I got employees' bills and stuff, and, you know, they need to make money. I can't just tell them I'm taking off, you know, and leaving.
Okay, so this is news to me. I don't know about the rest of the council. I wasn't part of the bidding process or the contracts. That's why I've been asking for this to be on the agenda, because I've had questions. I know that there were questions from Councilor Simonson about what was left of the park, how much more money was needed to finish the park. Do you have that readily available?
Not readily available, but I can certainly put it together by next meeting in detail.
So possibly, I would like to ask the council permission to ask Mr. Larson to continue another bid of what it would take to finish this job, so that we could look at that before we make a decision of how to proceed.
I think that's a good idea in general, but I would think that it would be good if he and Dan sat down to discuss, you know, just try to isolate, you know, what needs to be done and what, you know, what.
I know exactly what needs to be done. Finish setting up the basketball court. I have to remove the concrete that failed in the half circle and reset that. And then pour that 77 yards of concrete and redo the other eating pad that failed.
Okay,
That's
so,
supposedly is coming out of my pocket. That's roughly $20,000.
so I guess what I'm asking is for you to look at the remaining of the project through a new lens, now that you have the knowledge and experience that you have working on that property, of what you think it will take to finish the project. I would like you to include labor hours. And my understanding is that government's supposed to be paying prevailing wages. So I think that
It's a wholly job, it would be prevailing.
so would you please include that at prevailing wages? So that
It
we,
would have been that when I started it.
I wish you would have done that too, sir. I really do.
Well, I was asked not to try to do it so it wouldn't be that way.
Wait, what? You were asked not to do what?
To try to keep that under a certain amount so it wouldn't have to be prevailing wages.
Prevailing wage is 50,000. There was no
Yeah, and
chance.
you asked me not to go over 50,000 in any labor costs. Do you want me to keep saying more?
No, you can absolutely say that. What
Yeah, no, I'm
you
very
would
curious.
You would volunteer.
How about inflating the material cost to?
You would volunteer to do the project. You would volunteer to do the project without labor.
Oh,
So. And again,
okay, Dan, so what you said in the office was not what you said. So now, you asked me to keep it under $50,000 in labor, so I gave you a cost of what the materials would be.
Jay, I would just point,
And inflated them, so eventually at the end of the project, I could possibly get some money.
Jay, I would just point you to the contract that you signed that you had
Well,
a
what
copy
you
of
said in your office
for them to sign.
and
Okay,
what I heard you
That's-
tell me and my son is the thing is true. So I have no reason to lie here about this, because anything that's happening doesn't benefit me. Right now, the city park did not benefit me one bit. The only thing it did was benefit the city by me giving free labor. So,
okay. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to process what you just said, and it takes me a minute to understand what's happening. So I hear you saying that when you went to bid this job, the city manager asked you to deflate the cost of materials, inflate the cost of materials so that you could get around, find a loophole, if you will, around the bully expectations of paying prevailing wages. And so I'm hearing you say that you were being asked by the city to volunteer your services.
to volunteer my time.
To volunteer your time. And so you did that, not knowing the scope of work, started the work, realized that in order to get it done by fall, because you knew you would probably lose your work, because the cement, my understanding around here is you have to pour your cement and dry it before fall. So you busted your crew last summer to get this done. It cost more than you thought because you were paying labor. I don't know what to do with this. Does council know what to do with this right now? I don't know what to do with this. My brain is just going bananas right now.
Well, we also obviously need to look for how to figure it out.
Well, I do want to figure this
Yeah,
out, but I
exactly.
feel like these allegations are really serious.
Well,
And I don't know how to give them merit or dismerit them.
I don't think that's our
Well, we had a signed contract. We had a signed
problem.
contract that spells out the terms of the contract.
Yes, but he's saying you coerced him before he signed the
How would I
contract.
coerce someone to signing a contract?
Well, I don't know, but one of them was telling him to inflate the cost of materials so he could get paid. That's a very
Again,
serious allegation, Dan.
I would just simply point to the contract that was signed and the timeline between it was provided to Larson's and when they signed it.
I respectfully ask council to ask legal counsel to proceed with this contract. I feel that this, because I am being told by a citizen he was being coerced by our city manager to lie about his bid.
Then I guess if he has a case to be made against the city, it wouldn't be our city.
We're his
attorney.
supervisor,
I know we're his supervisor, but.
so I'm asking for an
He got the wrong
executive
way.
session with the city attorney to discuss on how to handle these
That's a different
allegations.
question. But we do need to get to the concrete work being done, so that still is our problem. With or without Mr. Larson.
So what I've asked of Mr. Larson, which I didn't hear any objections to, was for him to come to the next meeting with a bid of how much this job would truly cost to complete. That is what I would like to know. It sounds like the bid was not honest. I'm not gonna blame either party right now, but I'm being told that this was a dishonest bid, a dishonest contract. I don't know why that's not alarming to you all.
Because it's signed on the 8th of
I do a
March.
lot of contracts and I'm like, it's signed. I'm a little baffled here. so.
Okay, well, I've gone into contract law situations. It's just because the contract is signed does not mean that it is final. Especially when we're being told, the city manager told him to inflate the cost of materials to pay his volunteers. That is not part of the contract. So I'm asking for city attorney to come to council to address us in person in real time, whether or not it's an executive session, I don't care, to discuss what we're supposed to do with these allegations, because I'm not going to ignore them.
It doesn't be appointed by the city.
Does council have anything to say?
I concur with you about bringing it back next month for what it would cost.
So you're concurring with me that you would like Mr. Larson to come back with a true bid of what the actual job will cost? And do you have anything to say about the city attorney coming to speak to council about these allegations?
These are two different things, but they're both on the table.
We haven't had an official allegation yet, so I'm not sure. I mean, is he going to make one?
I'm sorry, sir, is your statement official and on the record?
That's not.
Really? We were just told this and that's not
I understand
official?
we were just told that, but that's not an official. Is he going to?
Mr. Larson, would you please put that in writing and mail it to the mayor at City Hall? And please use the PO box and not City Hall address because it'll be returned to you.
Yes.
Thank you. And then we can deal with that, I guess. when
And I
that
have a
comes.
question on that bid I'm supposed to do. Is that the full job from the day I started or for just what needs to be finished?
I believe it's to what is needs to be finished. And I apologize for your losses over the last 6 months.
Thank you.
I really do. Okay, on to the next item. Easement agreement and MOU with Lincoln County School District for sewer project.
So we do not have a finalized easement agreement. We have a finalized easement agreement. There was some language included at the last minute on the 7th by the school district that the city thought we had agreed to, but the school board did not act on. And so we are waiting for the school board to provide us a finalized copy. What we're asking for today is simply the authority that when we get that, so that I can execute the easement and the IGA on the sewer project.
Okay, this is to avoid a special meeting? Is that why we would do that?
We have a very short time window on this. They were supposed to have done this on the 8th. They did not, there was some miscommunication, is I guess the best way to describe it, on our agreement to their terms. And so they did not feel that they had enough time to have it on the agenda on the 8th. So they are going to have a special meeting on the 22nd. We've been informed that the contractor needs to be awarded on the 20th, and we'll talk about the contract award in just a second. So ideally, we need to be able to execute the minute that they do.
And I'm sorry, what was the date again?
The 22nd is a date that they have set aside for this meeting,
For the school board
for
meeting?
the school board to approve. You've already given me permission to enter into this. This is just formalizing the IGA and the easement as two separate documents.
Did you include the IGA?
I did not, simply because we do not have a finalized draft.
I hereby move that the city of Walport direct the city manager to award when appropriate in accordance with the procurement rule and laws of the city of Walport and state of Oregon, the contract for the industrial park sewer addition phase project.
Point of order, Councilor Towns, that's the next one.
Oh, yeah.
This is the intergovernmental agreement with Lincoln County School District, page 44.
It's in our packet. Page 44.
Way down there.
Way down there.
Is this where they took too long, if I remember right?
Right.
And if we don't jump on this, then the animal shelter,
I will say in fairness to the school district, they did not take too long.
okay,
The county took a tremendous long time to get the easement descriptions to all parties.
okay,
We literally were able to get the easement documentation to them on June 30th. They returned a draft on the 3rd in the evening.
Okay.
I returned on the 7th, which is that Monday at morning at basically 8:12 in the morning. I returned our comments and they said, well, why don't we let the contractor pick it out? But effectively at that point, I assumed that we essentially said, well, that's fine. We'll just execute option. They gave us two options. We said, we'll take option B.
Yeah.
They read that as that we were not willing to have background checked employees. And that was the thrust of the disagreement. However, that was never stated at all. Simply that we couldn't guarantee that, employees, third-party employees had their background checks. So if we call in Larry, the pump guy, or if we call in the electricians, we can't guarantee that they have background checks. So at that time, we simply said, okay, and Rich Baloney and I met about 2 hours ago, and we hashed out exactly what the concern was. This concern from the school district, as I understood it, was that they were saying that we were expecting them to have staff at the school 24/7. And I pointed out in my email, I said, only during school working hours was this a concern. If we needed to leave a contractor there because we were short-staffed. So we have worked that out, and I believe we will have a finalized agreement within the next day or two. We could certainly, there is absolutely nothing that precludes the council from, if you want to see and approve these agreements specifically, holding another meeting within the next week. Just keep in mind, we do need, it's not an emergency as defined by the state, so we would need at least 48 hours to hold a special meeting of the council and make sure that everyone was around.
I'm just interested that the bids vary by 40,000 or more.
Again, that's the next topic, not this one. This is page 44.
Yeah, I was on that.
Sorry there.
I move we direct and authorize the city manager to finalize and sign on behalf of the city the easement agreements of the industrial park sewer line and the intergovernmental agreement with the Lincoln County School District for the assumption of the wastewater lift station.
Second.
I don't know, Megan, you must have given me 3 of the same ones.
I got holes.
It's in the packet.
I do, I have 3.
Okay, so,
Oh, what's going on there?
That's a different one.
this is the industrial park, so that's separate.
Right, that was one I was looking at
This
first.
came out of your packet, the field one, so that's the new one that he gave handed
And
out
what's
today.
this guy? That
I
was
might have
the-
accidentally gave you 2.
Okay, that's, okay, sorry, I was
So
just
it's
trying
kind
to.
of, I think 44 in there.
Well, see, it came undone because it was too big.
Thank you for helping me.
Sorry, I apologize, I'm just trying to, okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, you made an motion directing authorize the city manager to finalize the sign on behalf of the city. Okay, and you made this motion,
Yeah,
Counselor Townsend?
I did,
And then was it seconded?
yes.
And then all in favor?
Aye.
And then I'll say no.
And this is, Dan, just to clarify, we were rushing on this because we want to make sure that sewer line got in.
So our biggest concern is not us rushing.
Right.
Our biggest concern here is that there is a piece of this project that has to be accomplished by essentially September 1st, because it involves a portion of the road on the school district's property that the school buses need to have. So they need to dig down, put the sewer line in, and repave that so the school buses can go. If that does not happen, the school district has revoked permission to do that work during the school year, which means that that sewer line will not go in until
And
next
the animal
year,
shelter won't
which means
open.
the animal shelter will not open.
Gotcha. Okay.
Unfortunately, we've been asking the county for all of the plans and the engineering, and that did not come until, basically May. We rushed the bid, and we did get, as you'll see in the next topic, multiple bidders.
All right, awarding the bid for the industrial park.
And that is the separate handout.
And this is the one where we're saying that we want to direct the city manager to award this when appropriate, and not have a special meeting, or we say that we want to have a special meeting the week of the 22nd.
No, the 22nd was the previous one.
Uh,
This is the standard award. There is a protest period for any contractor who was not a successful bidder. And so this would be awarded as soon as that contract period was expired.
And where do these funds come from?
These come out of the $2.2 million that we got for the industrial park sewer. This is phase 1. Phase 2 will be the line down the industrial park streets.
And that 2.2 million came from,
State legislature.
so it's not coming out of local tax dollars.
No. No, these are lottery funds.
So I would move to direct the city manager to award when appropriate in accordance with the procurement rule and laws of the city of Gulfport and state of Oregon, the contract for the industrial park sewer addition phase project to DSL Builders LLC, based on the bids received as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And one, two, so
I'm sorry, I didn't hear yours.
unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, consideration of holidays, I'm assuming for staff.
I think we've got the sidewalk,
Did I miss this?
page 45.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no, that's the.
Yeah, scratch that one.
Oh, okay, that's scratched.
I have next to mine.
All right,
Yeah. Just keep on going. All right. That was what we just did in the extra papers.
thank you.
OMG.
Okay, well, I move that the city adopt the two federal holidays, the Indigenous Peoples' Day and Juneteenth, as federal paid holidays for the city staff. Anyone second?
The state does not recognize the 8th or the 2nd, the October as a federal holiday, so they work on that day. The 19th of June, they do recognize.
Which one do they not recognize?
The October, whatever, there's just, they do not recognize it in the state, only the federal recognizes it.
It says Columbus Day is the federal holiday not recognized by the city. In May of 2021, the state legislature passed a bill that made Columbus Day into Indigenous Peoples' Day, designated as the same day, the second Monday in October. And it is widely adopted by municipalities and organizations as a federal holiday. So I've made a motion to recognize this as a city holiday. Does anyone second that?
I have struggled with this every time it comes up. And not that I don't like people having days off, but that we are a small city. We have a staff that's stretched pretty thin. And it does amount to close to $20,000 a year without, anything being done. I suspect that sooner or later we will adopt it, but that's just my input. I just look at the money, I look at how stretched we are staff-wise.
Councilor Woodruff, it says that they typically close City Hall and use their personal vacation days on both of those days already.
That is correct.
Yes.
So we're already
Yes, so-
closed.
So they don't do the work on those days, but we're not paying for it.
Well, they are through their vacation time.
Well, if they take vacation, yes.
Okay,
But it is more money.
so no one on council is going to second my motion to give the city staff to recognize federal or state holidays?
That is not true. I recognize the 19th of June. I do not recognize the October. And the reason I do not is the employees do receive the day after Thanksgiving as a paid holiday, and they do receive their birthday as a paid holiday.
It says they have 9 federal holidays, the day after Thanksgiving and their birthday. And they also take half days on Christmas.
So they do have 11, basically, is what you're saying.
They have 11, which is what the state shows.
And by giving them the Juneteenth, that would be 12, then, right?
They give it one extra day, which I believe should be given because that is state and it is federal.
Okay, I make a motion that the city give the staff Juneteenth, which is federally recognized. Do I get a second?
I second this.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Unanimously, we pass Juneteenth. Okay. On to the next subject, city manager's report, please. Does anyone have any questions for the city manager?
I think the city manager can give his report.
All right, you can take 5 minutes to go over your report.
As you can see, work's continuing on the sidewalk. We are working with our engineer. There is a potential to continue the sidewalk on the east side, north of Range Drive. That wasn't there before.
Potential?
Yes, so we are
Wow.
exploring that. We will have an answer within 2 weeks.
Wow.
We thought we were gonna have to shift it over at that point and then shift it back, which was, we think that things have changed and we might be able to get it done. Let's see, you've already approved the sewer. Thank you. We were very happy to see the number of bidders. We have not had a serious number of bidders on projects. That is hopefully reflecting a change. The wastewater project is moving forward. I'll have a lot more to say once they do something that makes an effect on something, but right now they're just plugging away. Southworth Park, the playground is obviously open. We are putting up some signage shortly. We've got some dog park signs. We've got some park signs. We don't have the major signage done yet, but that's all coming. And then road projects, just was informed that because of the problems with ODOT, that they're taking another week before they announce any of the awards for the small city grant. Dog park is open and heavily used. We are still working on things like water and a temporary restroom, and also some benches and shade eventually. We attempted to purchase the paving tool, and it came in just over the procurement law rules. So we are having to go out and jump through a few hoops to get that all taken care of. We expect that to be completed in July and delivered, so that we'll be able to commence with some road repair in August. And then we are about to go through a pretty big web change. This was not timing by choice. Civic Plus came to us and said that they're discontinuing Drupal support, which is what our site is based on. Drupal is an open source product. They are moving to a proprietary product. However, they are still one of the largest municipality providers in the country. And I took a look and there were no better options really to consider at this time for the cost. So we're migrating over and we will expect some pretty big web work to happen in the August timeframe. The nice thing is it does have an email notification system, a spot for a monthly city newsletter, a streamlined form and information repository, and the ability to do some polling and citizen feedback. And I provided an example and link to the example site. We had to pick between 6 different templates, so the reality is our site's going to look like a lot of other cities. You know, other than some pictures, that's just kind of the way it is. Civic Plus has something like 9,000 cities in the country. So if you consider that Oregon only has 200 or 300 and some cities, that's a pretty good representation across the country of how many that they actually maintain. So, you know, I think this is still the best way to go and provides us the best tools. And that's it.
I have a couple questions on the sidewalks and what's going on up there. I know that we hit some sand.
We did have a change order, cost us about an extra $40,000 because there was some effectively very marshy sand that had to be filled. That's not unexpected on a job like this. It was disappointing, but they did do it very affordably. And they are proceeding and they anticipate that their portion will be done by August 1st, which gives us a total completed sidewalk of about the start of school.
And then, oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Woodruff?
Then I was gonna ask, what about on the park? What exactly is in process, like ordered or?
We have a number of things. So we are getting multiple quotes because again, it exceeds the amount of the covered gazebos that will go on those pads. We're getting 4 of those. They're ranging about $15,000 on quote for ones that can withstand the engineering load required. So we're looking at $60,000. This was an item that when we originally had bid it out in the spec for the pavilion, it was $200 and some thousand. So these are considerably cheaper. The reason it is we went from one big, large pavilion to multiple smaller pavilions in the design stage. Along with that same token, we are having and getting bids from paving contractors to pave the walking track. Now that it's summertime, we can actually get that done. And this is the track that goes around the soccer fields and around the softball field. We're also getting some signage quotes and designs that we hope to be bringing to you. We're having some real challenges finding designers that are within budget. These signs are super expensive all of a sudden. We also have some paving that's going to occur up to the playground itself, as well as the design bid project utilizing, hopefully, the Job Corps to do the bathroom foundation piece so that we can build our bathroom. Once that's done, we're also working with Central Lincoln PUD to insert a lot of light poles so that we can then put lighting out into the park and fields and some cameras out there as well.
And it's my understanding that at the August meeting, you'll bring us a budget of what we've spent on this project
Yes.
and what is left and where the sources are.
Yes.
Okay.
Are the walking path or and the path to the playground asphalt, is that the plan or what's
Yeah,
that?
there will be, so right now, the path to get into the playground is dirt.
Dirt.
That was one of the things that I was not really comfortable opening the playground until we had addressed. But I was convinced that these kids want this playground, and I have to agree, it's been fantastic. But we do need to address that. We do need to have a accessible pathway and some accessible parking towards the playground, opening that up, making it easier for people to get there. And then we need some safe walkways, as when people start driving along that pathway, we need people to be able to walk safely to and from.
All right. The next thing on the agenda is public comment, additional public comment. Sure.
April, sir? I did put, I have no relation to Todd.
Yeah, you say that every time.
I know, well, he just mentioned it again. Okay, so we compared great grandfathers, and they don't like that. Maybe great, I don't know. I'm a citizen, and I wanted to address you guys. Thank you very much for all your work that you do. The Woodland Trail is being vandalized. This is a small town issue, not all the big, huge things you guys are dealing with now, but I've been holding off for a few months to bring this to your attention because it's continuing to be vandalized and new things are happening. Within the last week, 2 new things have happened. The most vandalism has happened since the last year. I was checking my photo documentation, it's like, oh, July of last summer, okay? These carvings, there are 13 or more carvings, large carvings of faces. They're not pretty, fancy faces. They're kind of creepy with big dark eyes and big teeth and stuff. They range in size from 12 feet. Some of them are 2 feet. A lot of them are 4 feet. Most of them are like this. One of them is 10 feet. And most of them are along the path from the skateboard park to the Park Street access road. I don't know if you know that trail, you should walk on it sometimes. It's beautiful, except for these faces. And more recently, I've noticed on the trail behind Kendall Park parking lot, on that trail, not the trail part, but the road that goes up, he's starting there. And there's one there, the 12-foot one. A grown man is doing this. Officer Darcy knows who it is. I've actually met him on the trail by accident 3 times. He's very proud of his work.
I think it's art.
It is his, but I think if we could redirect him to an appropriate way. It is, I did say it was continuing, and 2 new ones within this month. Within the last 30 days, 2 brand new ones. I called one today. I go, what? What's that one?
He left his large butcher knife
in one of the stumps on the trail.
Yeah.
And an adult that we knew found it and took it so that a kid wouldn't.
Right, and he does carry a hatchet and a big
It's
knife.
like a big chest knife.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Thank you so much for bringing this to our
Oh, yeah.
attention.
I'm not
It
done yet.
reminds me, well, I'm sorry, you have 3
Oh, no, that's
minutes.
fine, we can talk with you.
Well, and you have 3 minutes, so.
Sure.
But I just wanted to I was just stopping you because I know that one of the things I asked for in February was a Trails Committee, and it was started to be worked on, but it hasn't developed. So possibly we could have the applications for the Trails Committee made at the same time as the applications for the Events Committee, and we can start both those committees at the same time. Because I've had interest from the elementary school and the middle school to be members to be on that committee, and I think that would be
Right.
fabulous. And I actually had, there's a teacher named Mrs. Mosher, Becky Mosher, took her students on that trail, and they
That's what I
sent me
worry about.
pictures of those faces.
I worry about that. I have lots of pictures, I have the changes that has happened over the years, and there's also the year, but years too, if you count. I've been walking on this trail since 2012. So I've seen a lot, but I've never seen this bad. But there's also Sand Hill, maybe you've seen those pictures. There's a Sand Hill with a lot of pictures. And I have it all ready to print out and everything, but my printer didn't have any color in it. So the black and white just didn't look good. So I'd like to maybe submit those to.
Yeah, I would be very
you know,
interested in
I'll
seeing.
go down to Walmart and print out some pictures and send them to you.
You really don't have to, you can just digitally email them.
Right. Yeah, I
If
think
that's
they are
easier
in
for
the
you.
city, on the city somewhere, but, I mean, I could present them too, so, I mean, either way, it'd be easier than digital. So, I think that's about it.
No, I really appreciate your passion for
I
this
do love the
trail.
woods, and so do families and visitors and people who, just like to
Students.
have a nice, relaxing walk. And when you're walking along and you just go, wow, what the, and they're put in places so that you have to see them. So,
Are they out of logs or wood?
I have to-
they're out of region. Mostly they're in stumps that were cut probably 70 years ago. But if you look at the stumps, and if you look at the forest in the way that, environmentalists would, those stumps are nursing stumps for other growth. And I did notice one of them that is cut, and I go, that's good wood down there, even though it's all like rotted on top, but then if it goes far enough, the bottom is still alive. And I think it's also encouraging other people to do vandalism. There's a couple new things that I've seen up there that is not his work, but it's in a live tree. I mean, it's this big. So, and another place. So, I do have a lot of those pictures. I don't know how many you want to look at, but I can arrange to send them to you. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank
Again,
you, thank you.
And just wanted to kind of leave it live for the last few months because
Yeah, no,
this is a small town issue, but I do thank you for everything you guys
Well,
do.
that
Thank
can
you.
damage it permanently.
Well,
It's a
I mean, for
treasure.
me, I thought, how can I get rid of this? What could I do? And I'd have to wipe out the whole face. And some of those, I think some of you guys have seen them. I mean, the eyeballs, this one has eyeballs that are as big as my hand, this big, and they go that deep in. This is the one that's, this high, plus the moss, and plus the sticks that are sticking out. And he also, sorry, I'm gonna keep talking about, but he also makes these structures with sticks pointing the way down the path, and they're dangerous.
I will definitely hike it tomorrow,
It's hard for me to take
April.
pictures of myself standing next to one where a stick is pointing, but,
No, I look
also,
forward to
more
hiking
people
it
who are
tomorrow.
in the forest, walking on the trails, I invite you, please.
Yeah.
Go walk on the trails
It's beautiful.
and call in if you see something that's not right.
Well, hopefully we'll get this Trails Committee started and you can join it. That would be wonderful.
Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you. AJ?
I think it might be smart to check with Forest Service personnel, because they probably deal with that on their trails, and they may have some solutions that we wouldn't think of because we're rookies at it.
AJ?
Hi, council. I came here with one question ready. Does the new group that is taking over the dates that are traditionally the Beachcomber Days and Walport celebration, are they getting as much scrutiny as the previous group? Do we even know what their nonprofit status is, or if they have one? But that is seeming overshadowed today by the council's lackluster response to some serious fraud allegations. I don't expect you guys to jump up and start going crazy or nothing, but the way you guys appear to not care and want to disregard this is very alarming to me. Also, what would be the council's response to the petitions for, what was it? For withdrawal of five of the council members be today, if you are willing to answer.
I'm sorry, I'm unclear with that.
So there has been a submission for a recall for 5 of the council members today. I was wondering if the council would have any response to someone putting in a recall the legal and proper way.
I don't understand, putting in a legal,
There has been a recall submitted for
Right.
5 of the council
Okay.
members. And what I'm alluding to is that it is being done the proper and legal way,
Okay.
opposed to the way the council removed the mayor recently.
okay?
Any response?
Okay, so with that, do you mind if we close public session and I will open then the council, but we have one more public comment.
Sounds good, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, Todd, hello.
Mr. Arden, when did your request be put on the agenda for today?
I have no idea. I was notified yesterday by a citizen that was on the agenda for today.
Oh, that's nice that you didn't have to come to the council meetings for 20 months in a row to request that. You just had an the city and you were put on there. That's great. As far as the back and forth about the events committee, I really hope that everyone focuses not on the internal drama with that, but that we are a tourist town. We rely on tourist dollars. So whatever the committee comes up with, I hope it's taken seriously on that. And then just one more question. Greg, did you get the documents I sent?
I did, thank you.
Okay. And did you share them with Dan and Jaime or?
I've sent them, I don't know if you forwarded them yet?
We've already had those.
Oh,
The ones from because those are the ones we never got from the city. Those are the ones we found on our own from.
Yeah, those are an easement through a private property the city owns, not through an easement through Township 15.
Correct. And that's the ones that we wanted to discuss with in the workshop. Thanks.
Okay, so council comments and concerns. Does anybody want to respond to AJ's ask about the recall? Because I don't know what's going on.
It's whoever did that, that's their right. And if the community wants us recalled, then that's the way it'll be, but I don't think that'll happen. We get a lot of good responses. We work very well with the community. But I'm upset that some people are not happy with us, but you can't please everybody.
Appreciate your comment.
Yep.
Does
I
anybody
didn't
else?
know about it
want
until you just said.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I'm sorry, Councilor Booth, what did you just say?
I did not know about it until I just heard it right here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, me too.
Anyone else have any comments?
So you're aware, but no one else is aware?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. There's a group of people that have been very vocal, And I've been very vocal about my position and how I feel about the city. So I am not surprised that someone would want to try to remove me to make me so I'm not so vocal, but that's not going to deter me. I'm standing up for the citizens, for the city, and I'm not going nowhere until I get recalled, if I get recalled. Talking about, I guess since I'm talking, where's my notes? I was a little upset with you, Mayor Lambert, on Beachcombers. I thought it was pretty clear from the email we got that we were not supposed to discuss anything that was in that email because of a potential serial meeting, that you decided to make fun of the situation and what'd you call it? A mockleration?
Mocklamation.
And that's just basically making fun of us and you doing what you want to do without us, and especially when we told you not to. So there's not much we can do. I mean, we could try to censor you, but that wouldn't do any good.
I don't remember a vote saying that I couldn't speak at Beachcombers parade, nor was there a vote that I couldn't go to the parade. So I don't understand what you.
You spoke on the city's behalf.
No, I didn't.
No, she did not.
No, I didn't.
You said really great inspirational things.
But I appreciate you trying to silence me, Counselor Dunn.
I thought that was
Okay.
a bad move.
Well, I appreciate that. Does council have any other comments?
Um, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
The shouting from the,
Oh,
room, this is council's good of order.
Thank you, Megan.
Since there's been a lot of discussion and questions about the audits, can you give us where we are right now?
I spoke to Savannah Halter, who is the representative for Umpqua Valley Financials, who's doing our audit work. They had a couple things that they asked from the city today that my finance manager was working on getting to them.
Everything they asked for was sent.
For what year?
For 21 and 22.
Oh, still 21.
And they believe that they should be able to complete those by August. Based on that, that puts us in line to be caught up by the December timeframe, in 23 and 24.
Can we get that in a letter from the accountant?
I will reach out and ask that, but I doubt that they will commit to a timeline like that. That's not what they do.
Well, they do it over the phone. Okay, anybody else have any other comments? All right, thank you, community, for being here today. I really appreciate you all and everything that everyone gives to make this community as great as it is. So thank you. We'll see you guys next month. Meeting adjourned.